historically, we've looked at these checklists and, okay, what is it? And we're not going to stay around till we find something wrong. That isn't our intention at all. We're going to move away from those checklists and that compliance with operational standards, and we're looking at individual assessments, moving towards assessments that are based on our standards of practice and our code of ethics, and based on coaching, mentoring to enhance those things, to help you to be able to move there, no matter where you are. This isn't a thing that you've got to meet this certain level. It's a realization, okay, this is where you are, and help you understand where practice needs to get to meet the expectations of society, and then help you to come up with, not tell you how to get there, but coach and mentor you on plans to be able to move in that direction. So in the past, we've looked at things like community practice and then hospital practice, do that operational assessment, evaluating against the legislation and policies. We come up with outcomes, an action plan, and we give a report. So we're going to continue to do a lot of those things, but focus more on the processes, and we're going to do that every 2 or 4 years. We do have enough people that we probably can do closer to that 2-year thing, but we also want to make sure that we're evaluating how we're doing it as well. And if you don't have a lot of problems, we go to the higher risk areas. So that's why we're saying 2 to 4 years. If you're not practicing in areas that are high risk, that are dealing with methadone or sterile compounding or those sorts of things, it might be a little bit less. But if you are involved in those things, it doesn't mean you're bad, but it means that from a societal point of view, what you're doing may be a little bit more risky, and we need to look at it a little more often. And then the other thing is we're looking at the individuals when we go in there. So not only the place, which has been the focus of the traditional area, but we're looking at how does that person practice, do an individual practice assessment. We're going to coach and mentor them against the standards of practice and looking at those individual outcomes. And then we can come up with, maybe there's some things that you need to be able to do, but most likely we'll produce a report to be able to look at what you're doing and is there ways that we can help you. So very much an individualized way. And then there may be some things that come out of that that go to the whole pharmacy. So your pharmacy is set up so it's not really easy to coach somebody or talk to somebody on a refill. So that feedback could go back. But we also, if you're not really skilled at doing the refill consultation, then we will encourage you on how to be able to do those sorts of things. So up to now, our only quality assurance aspect was to bring people in here and go through a pretty intensive system to be able to do that. Does it make a whole lot more sense for us to look at how your practice is, especially when we need to look at technicians who work in an environment they don't work independently, and we're looking at hospital and we're looking at community health teams as well as community pharmacy. We need to really look at how we're going to do that. So we're going to focus on those individual assessments to be able to do that. It's not going to be as frequent, and it doesn't make sense that it's frequent. But there is a standard across Canada that we should look at every individual practitioner about every 10 years. So we look at them first when they enter the profession. Why not 2 or 3 times during the rest of their career go in and assure the public that, hey, we've looked at this practice and it is meeting the standards of the day. It doesn't mean that there's going to be some consequences. Other than those consequences are likely going to help you realize what standards of today are and help coach and mentor you to be able to move in that direction. And we see a lot of value in that by identifying every individual practitioner, whether they're a pharmacist, pharmacy technician, and be able to be engaged in that. And we're looking at these in 4 different areas. So we're looking at, how do you make a patient assessment? Do you need some help with that? Do you need coaching and mentoring? How do you make your decisions? And we've got frameworks, we've got books and stuff like that to be able to help you, workbooks. But when you're right in practice, it's hard to relate to some of those things. Sometimes you can go off to a course and you think this is the greatest thing, and you ace the little questionnaire at the end, but how often do we put those things in practice? And are they really important as far as your practice is that they go there? Well, we're training people to be able to help you with that. So patient assessment, decision-making with your documentation. We know that that's some of the big issues around even the pharmaceutical opinions and stuff like that. It's not intended to be able to focus just on that, but generally we have some issues around the documentation. Maybe we could coach and mentor you to help you understand what the purpose of documentation is. And it isn't good to have this much pages of it, and it's also not good to be too brief. So give you a concept of how to make it most appropriate. And the communication education, those are important things. And how do we help coach you to be able to communicate better with other healthcare professionals, but as well as the patient? So practice advisors are going to evaluate the process that we're putting in place that some of you have already experienced, and we're focusing on the prescriptions, the refills, when you're adapting prescriptions and medication reviews through observation or chart stimulated recall. So we're going to, when we come in, we'll have a look at what you're doing, but that's not going to be everything. We may go to a prescription that you did or a patient interaction that you did sometime in the past, and we said, okay, what went through your mind as you're doing this? And then what were the thought processes you were doing? And did you think of this? And, was there some other things you might have done? By the way, the standard says this. So you might want to think about how you could incorporate that the next time you experience a similar sort of thing. And for each one of those domains, there's a key number of performance indicators. And so what we've done is we've looked at the standards of practice and said, we expect to see these sorts of things. But we also realize that we've never done this before, so most people don't realize that. So maybe we'll point those sorts of things out. We're not expecting you to understand by reading that these are the standards of practice. We expect that we're going to help because through doing, we'll help you to be able to do those things that are the standards of practice. So what are we finding when we're doing these sorts of things? Now, this is only when decisions are being made. And to be honest with you, we're not making a lot of decisions out there, even though we could be making a lot of decisions about care. Often we're focused just on refilling the prescriptions. But when we do that, we do see that a lot of people meet the standard. There's a lot of people too that need this coaching and mentoring, and those are really valuable things. It's good for us to identify both those groups because one group we can help, and the other ones we can actually show as an examples, and maybe they'll be able to help their peers as well. So they don't know that they're doing a really good job at that, but it's kind of nice to know that you are doing the great things, and you may be able to help a peer in your pharmacy or somewhere else. What Zubin will talk about and what we know about is adults don't learn really well from us dumping information down onto people. They learn by talking amongst themselves and figuring out what the best thing to do. And we need to take advantage of that adult learning type of mode to be able to do that. So when we're talking about making the decisions, implementing and monitoring outcomes, we're not really good at monitoring, even though that's in our standards of practice. And it doesn't necessarily mean a very traditional way of doing things, but to do some sort of follow-up or ask some key questions. That's a skill set that we can develop, and other healthcare professionals do too. And that's part of our standards, so we're helping people there, and that's probably where we're seeing we need to put more things forward to be able to help people. So this is really good information. It reflects what's happening out there, and it also reflects where we need to focus as a college, and maybe as continuing educators, you need to focus on some of these areas as well. So those are the areas that probably could use a lot of attention and how we want to move things forward. So we're in a pilot right now. All the stuff I've been talking about, and if you've experienced this, this is a pilot. We're not having outcomes that people are concerned with. It does need to evolve into the regular way of doing things, but we need to make sure that when we do it, it's offering that value. So we're going through a pilot phase to be able to gather that information. But throughout this next year, we think that we've got enough information we can operationalize it. Now remember, our philosophy isn't that once you come up with a solution and then that's it. We are very much into continuous quality improvement. So even if we're rolling it out and it's no longer a pilot, as we discover that some of the things we're doing isn't effective, or some of the things that we're doing could be done in a different sort of way to be able to help you in your practice, we're going to continually make those changes.